Hello, hello. Oh, so good. Welcome in. Hello, hello, hello. We're going to do some readings today. I just feel like we need it. Look, oh, here he is. Look, he's chilling with us, hanging out. Yeah, I've been feeling today like I just need some clarity. Like I need to sit and we need to do some readings. So I'm going to sit, we're going to do some readings. I'm going to sit and we're going to do some readings. Let's see. Actually, you know what? What deck do I need to start with? Let's do the old school deck. Let's read with the original one. This is the deck that I was using when I started doing readings for other people. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what we need to see collectively. Lots of shifts, lots of gifts. Two we cannot see. Decision. Start picking up your thoughts. It's like you've already made the decision. So start, hello to you too. Start picking up your thoughts. You made the decision. The ideas that are coming in around it, pick it up. Pick it up. Sometimes when we have ideas, thank you, Spirit. Sometimes when we have ideas, we like dismiss it, or we're like, maybe something else. Maybe next time. Maybe not that. Maybe, but those ideas are like sparks for a fire. They're like sparks for a fire. Imagine this. Imagine everything that you've been working on thus far is you have been preparing. You know, like when you build a fire, you've got to do it in a certain order. And then you've got to get like the newspaper, right? You've got to get the stuff that can be kindled underneath of it. And it's like everything's already set up. Everything's already set up. You just got to get it going. So now that you have this decision made, you have the fire structure set up. You've got the wood set up. Hi to you too. You've got the wood set up. Now it's time to get the sparks going. Get the sparks going. So these ideas that you're having around it, it's like, okay, now it's time to bring it in. What are your ideas? What's your creativity? What is it really that you're working on? What is it that you really want to look at? What is it that what? Yes, okay. What else do we need to see around this? Picking up ideas. Picking up ideas. Preserve, reserve, conserve. Sometimes we need to go and be by ourselves and not talk to anybody else. Right now, we're headed into eclipse season also. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. Even me with my ears, like, listen, okay, I'll listen, I got you. I'll listen, I got you. We're almost there. So we're needing to, and we're almost to a Venus retrograde. And let's talk about that. We're almost to Venus retrograde. Venus retrogrades are preserve, reserve, conserve. Hello, hello. Yeah. Yeah, preserve, reserve, conserve. So it's a time, it's associated with the 40 days and the 40 nights of drought. It's a hard time sometimes to figure stuff out. The 40 days and the 40 nights of drought. So just making sure that you're preserved, reserved, thank you for that. Preserve, reserve, conserve, making sure that everything that you really are like in need of is taken care of. March 2nd is when Venus goes retrograde. It's already in Aries where it's going to start to go retrograde. Aries is the spark. You remember I was just talking about the ideas that you're picking up, the ideas that are coming through, they're going to light the fire. It's like those are, you've already made the decision, light the fire. When Venus retrogrades, we might not have new sparks come in. We're probably going to have to reconsider sparks. We're going to have to go back and look at the fires that we've been working with and building. So it's like a reconsideration of the beginning of things that you've just started, things that you've just brought in, things that you are wondering about. Should I really begin in that again? So it's like a reconsideration of those spaces. And then it's going to go back into Pisces where we're going to change places and then it'll go direct and we'll go back in and start again. So we have stuff that we're starting right now where it's like, is this really, we may not be able to see to the other side of the Venus retrograde or have the like full clarity of what that's going to shift for us. But something that you're starting right now is going to undergo some kind of transition through eclipse season. And you're going to come out the other side of that with a different idea, or it might not be, okay, what I hear is no, it's a different idea. You're going to come out the other side with a different idea or some kind of different story. There's something different on the other side of the Venus retrograde. So if you're looking at what's been starting in your life recently, especially around Venus archetype or like the feminine archetype mother stuff going on, if you're looking at that area, what has started recently and with those beginnings, what is going to be transitioning in the next couple of months that may not be able to be so clear right now, and the sparks that we're picking up currently around that, we need to kind of like hold on to them. Honestly, if you need to write it down, I think Mercury is going to be retrograde in our eclipse season too. Yeah. And basically, like right with Venus, Mercury and Venus are going to be retrograde together So clever, you two. Clever, you two. Thanks. So if you feel like you need to write down the ideas that are coming through, I know I've been writing down a lot of stuff recently as well when it comes to that sort of area of like ideas, different things like that. So I think there's an animal somewhere. I can hear the noises. I just wanted to check in with my surroundings. Spirit's been asking me to be more aware recently. So, you know what? Let me check in on my homework too. You know, that's true. Let's see what else needs to be brought through. I feel like recently, Spirit, ever since the North Node entered Pisces, we could talk about that. Ever since the North Node entered Pisces, Spirit has been like, oh, here's this homework. Oh, here's this homework. Oh, here. And you have other homework to do. Oh, and here, this homework. Usually I'm giving other people homework, but I'm not doing sessions right now. So Spirit has been coming through and being like, okay, well, here you have this homework. Oh, here you have this homework. Okay, here you have this homework. So I've been picking it up as needed, you know? Yeah. No, Venus is not retrograde yet. Thank goodness. We have until March. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful that it is not retrograde yet. We still have time. And I think probably my favorite thing about that upcoming kind of space before it retrogrades is the fact that Mars is going to go direct before Venus retrogrades. Mars being retrograde is really difficult for me. Just the way that my chart is set up. Mars retrograde is really hard because Mars is very integrated into my work. It's very integrated into like literally every single part of my life. Mars is like a part of my life. Plus I'm living on my Mars line right now in astrocartography. So Mars is like a really big thing for me. Mars doesn't retrograde except for every 2 years. And this Mars retrograde has taken, I feel like my life has been in a snow globe and it's just gotten like shaken up. And we're going to have, what is it, a week? It's like how many days is it? Hold on. 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. The first. So 5 days. We only have 5 days in between Mars going direct and Venus retrograding. Probably less than 5 days, honestly. I don't know the exact timing on those direct and retrograde times. So, but around 5 days. We have like around 4.5 days. We'll just call it 4.5. If we have 4.5 days to laugh, that's what I just heard. Ridiculous. We have 4.5 days to laugh. Mars is going to go direct. Mars is going to, is it funny? I don't know. I'm going to laugh about it now though. Mars going direct is February 24th and then March 2nd is when Venus is going to retrograde. So we have that time frame of like being able to, being able to like rest, recover, not be so stressed, actually have time to like get some forward moving motion. Honestly, I'm not going to say if I were you, because I'm not you, but I'm me. And I'm thinking right now, myself, and I'm probably going to block off the 24th to the 2nd so that I can just get some stuff done, because Mars retrograde has had me, I like want to work on a project and then I don't go work on a project because I've got all this other stuff to do to reconsider what the project. So it's like this big circle of back and forth, and I haven't been getting everything I want to get done. As a very Mars ruled person, I need the like driven forward energy, and we don't have it right now. We have a sit back, relax, rest time. It's driving me a little crazy. I want to get back up and I want to go for something again. You know, I want to go after something again. How do I go after something? I want to create some stuff. I want to go have some victories. That's kind of difficult when Mars is retrograde. When Mars is retrograde, it's more about recover, heal some stuff, which I literally just talked to Spirit last night about needing to heal again. So heal again, you know, like I'm ready to heal again. I sat with Spirit last night. I had a big conversation with Spirit last night. And I said, you know what? I'm ready to heal again, Spirit. I'm ready to heal again. I'm ready to bring in the healing again. I'm ready to heal again. I haven't talked to Spirit like that in a while. I needed it. So let the healing begin. Even today, there was things that were happening. That's what today has been. Not totally, but part of it. That's what today has been, you know? Yeah. A big challenge. Do you know? Yeah. Healing, I hope it's not a challenge for me this time. Healing, see, it's always challenging to go through what we need to heal from. The healing part, though, for me specifically, it's pretty easy. Even if it's like, you know, you got to work through it, it's still work. But for me, the healing part's always the easy part. The getting through the hard stuff, not always easy. Not always easy. Yeah. Interesting. People, if you've been interesting, okay, so we have some other cards coming out. If you've been sitting around and watching some things and like pretending, The energy I heard playing stupid. If you know you haven't been living up to your potential is more of a like, I don't know, not like it's like a non-self hurtful way to say that. Yeah, if you have maybe not been living up to your potential and you know it and you're like thinking about something or you're like, "No, I could do that," or "I really want to, I wonder what that would be like," or like, "I know I could." You've been doing that. Well, it's time to go. It's time to get up. It's time to get up. It's like you're like a warrior who's dressed up like a jester, the Joker. You're a warrior who's dressed up like a Joker. You're this person who has all this power, all these skills, and you're dressed up like a Joker. For why? Sometimes we need to. So you know what? That's true. But it's a change. It's a switch up. It's a change. It's like, okay, well, people the people that are around you need to see the how do I say? It's like a persona is falling off. A persona is falling off? That's what it feels like. It's like a mask falling off. But what I see is like a shedding of the skin. Isn't this year the year of the snake? Year of the snake. It's like shedding your skin. We got to shed our skin again. And what Spirit just showed me is like every single sun season that we're in is going to have a shed of skin. Okay, Spirit. Thank you. Well, here we go to the year of change. No wonder Spirit told me it's a season of change. Interesting. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the year of the snake for sure. So we have the warrior be getting tired. It's important to rest and be silly. You know what? That's also true. That's also true. Yeah. I feel like I've done a lot of resting and digesting. For me, it's time to get up. That's how I know that's for sure. Some emotional, it's like direction. Emotional direction upon further inspect. Oh, golly. No wonder you don't want people to see who you are. Look at how much it costs to become you. Look at how much it costs to become you. Let's talk about that for a second. Thank you, Spirit, for putting it on me. Think about how much it costs to become you. Think about everything you've had to do to make it to where you are now. Think of all the people you've had to face. Think about all of the decisions you've had to embrace. Think about all of the witchcraft you've had to create, if that's true for you, or the practices that you've had to practice in. Think about all the time, all the money, all the sweat, all the tears, okay, all of the fluids as it is and was. Think about all of the payments that you've made spiritually, physically, monetarily, time. Think about everything that it has cost to become the person that you are right here and now. Think about how much it costs to be you. So what if people see that? And I feel that in like so many different directions. It's like, so what if people see that? Also, so what if people see that? So what if people see that? It's like there's so many different ways that phrase can be interpreted. That's how I hear it. It's like, so what if people see it? So what if people see it? So what if people see it? It's like there's so many different like inflections that can change the direction of that term. But it's also like who you are is never a firm being. We have like seasons of our life. We have these places that help to create us, to help to fortify us, to help to change us, rearrange us. But we're never firm. There's rarely moments in our life where we look up and we're like, I've become this kind of person now. Literally today, yesterday? It was yesterday. I was looking in the mirror. I just glanced up at myself. I was in the space to look in a mirror, glanced up at myself, and I was like, I don't even recognize myself. Like I recognized myself 2 days ago. Don't recognize myself now though. That's really weird. And then I was doing something else. I was like later that day, I was working in something else. I was creating something else. And I was like, this person that I am right now, like how I feel right now and what I'm going through, I don't recognize this person that wants to do these things, this person that wants to become this person that wants to practice what I'm practicing right now. I don't recognize her. I don't recognize this version of me. Where is this coming from? Like, where did I ask for this also? And where is this going? Where is this going to take me? So where am I proceeding to? It was a very strange moment of like, I don't recognize myself anymore. And Spirit told me about a month ago, this is on more of a personal note, but if you resonate with it, I'm going to speak on it. Spirit told me about a month and a half ago, give it 6 months and you're not going to recognize yourself. And I was talking to Spirit. I was like, it's only been a month. It's been a month. And yeah, I don't recognize myself already. So what is that about? What's going on? What's going on with that? We're ever changing people, So if you feel like you've reached some sort of It's like what I hear is conclusion. There's some court of conclusion, a court of conclusion. Interesting. Okay, court of conclusion. Okay. I also see like courting people, like a court of conclusion, some kind of courting where you're like being the court being procession. Procession has been an important word recently for me. To be processed, having a procession of the order of procession, how things are ushered. Procession. Okay, so there's some other stuff to this though before we're done. Other messages to come through on it. What else do we need to see? Ooh. Okay. So this one is for the people. Oh, interesting. Let's go back. Let's reel it back in for a second. Let's reel it back in. Remember how I was saying how much it costs to become you? Look at how much it has cost to become you. Think about all the things you've had to do that you did not want to do to become the person that you are. Ooh, ow. Just a little bit. Ouch. Thanks, Spirit. Making us not feel so alone in that. We've all had to do things we don't want to do. We've all had to do things we don't want to do. We've all had to do things that we maybe didn't agree with at the time and have had to find peace in it, have had to find acceptance of. We've all had to do things that we didn't think we were going to have to do to get out of situations that we didn't even think we were going to be in the first place. Unexpectedness of life. Life happens sometimes, you know. We've all had to do stuff that we maybe morally were like, I don't know if I like the person I was in that moment. If you haven't had to do that, have you lived? That's another conversation maybe for another time. And also, we've all had to do that kind of stuff. So it's like, it reminds me of, if you've seen the Peaky Blinders, I love that show. God, I love that show. Thank you for that show. I love that show. It reminds me in the Peaky Blinders when Thomas, I think it's in like season 4, Thomas, the main character, I could be wrong about that. He's like having a hard time. There's some hard things that happen to him and he has to take some time off, and he like tries to go fishing and tries to like golf and like just like do normal people stuff. He tries to do normal people stuff, but he's not a normal people person. He's a leader, and he's like built all these businesses, and he like has these people who need him to be around, so it's like he's built this life by doing these things that are maybe not so good. And so while he's in this period of rest and like trying to figure out who he is, he just keeps having these flashbacks to these hard things that have happened to him, and he like can't get out of it. He can't escape it. And eventually Polly, another one of the characters, is like, you've got to shake hands with the devil and move on. Like, that's just how we are as people. She's talking more about her like cultural space. And also I feel like that message right now is applicable for everyone who resonates with that. Is like, sometimes you have to shake hands with the devil that you have had to be in situations and move on from things, except for the fact that that person that you can't go back and change who you were. That's a hard thing to face. You can't go back and change who you were. You can't change those decisions that you've made and created. You can't change that. But what we can do is come to accept it, because there's a power of the underworld. One of the things that Spirit has been reminding me of, this is like a very dark reading, but you know what? It is as it needs to be. Maybe more light to the darkness. Bring it up. Okay, that's fine. So one of the things that Spirit has been reminding me recently is that the underworld is a neutral place. Neutral. It's neutral. There's neutrality to it. Every tool that we can work in, every sort of moral, ethical code, there's neutrality to it. There's always going to be multiple different perspectives. There's always going to be multiple different sides to things. And that neutrality, in my opinion and in my experience working in the Spirit, that neutrality is a really, really important skill to have. Being able to sit in the neutrality of a position, because sometimes we're placed in positions, especially if you're someone who is working in a spiritual path and you have spiritual responsibilities and you have a responsibility to your ancestors, if you have a responsibility to, there's spirits in your practice, if there's responsibilities there, if you have a responsibility to the spirit, to the highest spirit, to God, however it is that you would pronounce that, if you have responsibilities and or you're working in a practice where you are becoming more responsible for those spaces, there's going to be times where, and I've experienced this, we don't get to escape that part of our humanity. Sometimes we're placed in positions where we have to become the person we did not want to be. And that's to help us understand the people who would do wrong to us. It's to help us understand and become maybe more compassionate, maybe more understanding, maybe more accepting, maybe more loving. Because if you can understand why somebody is doing harm to you, if you can understand, this is this perspective that Spirit's putting on me right now. Because again, always multiple perspectives. So thank you, Spirit. If you can understand why people would do harm to you, if you can, then you're breaking the cycle of why the harm is done. Bringing awareness to it brings awareness to the skill and the tool. It makes you more aware of the responsibility you were sitting in. It makes you more aware. And that awareness is, how do I say this? The innocence is the payment for wisdom. So when we become aware of something, we either go and we collect the wisdom or we choose to become ignorant. That's a choice. Is a choice. So when we become aware of something, we're saying, I'm giving my innocence. I'm giving my innocence to this so that I can now sit with the responsibility. And if you've chosen to become, because see, if you've chosen to become aware of the fact that you've had to do things that are not maybe what you would necessarily agree with. Thank you, Spirit. If you've had to do those things that you would not necessarily agree with, it's time to go back and give yourself some compassion. Think about all of the understanding that you've given to the people who have hurt you. Oh, I understand why they did that because this, and this. I understand why they were that kind of person because I can see what they were going through, or I can see what their ancestral inheritance might have been, or I can see, maybe the magic they were practicing, whatever it is. I can see from an external perspective why that person might have been the way that they were. What about going back and offering that to you? That makes me want to cry. What about going back and offering that to you? Think about all the times that you have done something that other people disagreed with. Think about all the times that you've done something that you've been in a hard position and you had to do whatever it was to get yourself into another space. Neutrality. You've been hard on yourself. You've been a critic. So why not go back and show yourself the same compassion that you would show to other people who bring harm unto you? Go back and do that for yourself. Because once you do that for yourself, then you're really saying, I'm allowing myself to sit in the neutrality of it. If I can be hard on myself and I can love myself, if I can go back and be a critic and a skeptic, and then I can also go back and love and understand, you found the place of neutrality. You may not be exactly in the middle of the neutrality, but you found the perspectives that allow you to sit from a space of neutral. Neutral is not necessarily a blank thing. Neutral just means more than two. Is it more than one perspective? More than two perspectives? Neutrality requires that there's at least more than one. More than two, I feel like more than two. Let's be specific. Highest Spirit, is more than two. Thank you, Highest Spirit. It requires more than two perspectives. If you allow yourself to sit in more than two perspectives, you've found a place where things are allowed to be neutral. Oh. So go back and give yourself some, because you can't change what you did. You can't change it. You can't change it. So why be hard on yourself still? Why be hard on yourself still? And you acquired a skill. Think about that too. Think about what you had to do. Think about who you had to be in that moment or moments or wherever this is for you. This resonates. And you're thinking about sitting with. Think about the skill that you acquired having to do that. Do you know anybody else who can do that? I don't. Do you know anybody else who can do those things? No. Think about the skill you acquired. Now think about the skill that you're acquiring, allowing yourself to become neutral. Oh my goodness. You know how much power that comes in that? The reason that people would call you a devil in that position, and how do I say this? Please allow me to speak in love, truth, free. One of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons that people would call you a devil or like a bad person in the space of understanding is because they've chosen ignorance. That's what I feel the message is. Because people have interesting perspective, Spirit. Okay. I guess that's for reals. If people have chosen to hate you because you have reaped the wisdom of what you've gone through, there's something in them that doesn't want to reap the wisdom. And that's it. But they can recognize that there is a wisdom that has been reaped, which means they have chosen to become ignorant in the moment of the awareness when it came up. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I needed to hear that too. Thank you, Highest Spirit, for bringing that through. My goodness. My goodness. My goodness. Oh, the uncommon skill, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. That is that's a lot. Understood. It feels like a lot, at least. Understood. Yeah. Oh my. Thank you, Spirit. What a channeling. I haven't sat in a channel like that in a while. Let's see what else needs to come through. Needs to be. Not a time to sit and to think about stuff. Oh my goodness. 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 I said this in, I don't even know how many episodes of the podcast I've said this in at this point, but I know I've said it on multiple occasions in multiple spaces in multiple different times that February is going to be a time where we have to start to get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. And I've been feeling it. I've been feeling it. I've been feeling it. I've been feeling it. And sometimes I'll get up and do one thing. It's like, how do I say this? I feel like there's so much to do. It's like what one of my friends would say, option paralysis, but it's not even really option paralysis. I'm just looking at like, normally when I work in things, it's like, okay, I have this to-do list. Let me get this list of to-do things done, right? Let me get this list of to-do things done. And recently it's like, I have so much to do, I can't even make a list. And that's not to be, how do I say? It's like the overwhelm. Anytime I start to feel overwhelmed is the time that I want to sit down and not do anything, but that's the time that I need to get up and do more, you know? So right now is not a time for like sitting and resting. It's to take care of yourself and rest. That's not what I'm saying. If you have the energy and the capacity and the capability and the ability to do so, get up for yourself. Right now is the time to get up. Sometimes we go through seasons where we've got to sit and we've got to meditate, understand, journal, look through some things. But right now we're in this season where things are shifting around. Okay, we've got some things in the spirit that are about to ground. Pluto retrogrades. What's the date? It's in the summer, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. How interesting. We've got some interesting dates this year. I'll leave it there. So we've got some interesting dates this year. The other one that I'm thinking about right now, if you really want to know about it, hold on, let me find it. Neptune retrogrades in Aries on July 4th. That's the other interesting time that I had on my mind. So we've got some grounding stuff. We'll leave that for another time. All right. And also, we've got some grounding stuff happening this year when it comes to spiritual alignments with society, because Aquarius is the social spaces, groups, connections, but it's everybody. It's not just one group. It's the entirety of the people, a lot of people. Okay. That's a lot of people. So when Pluto retrogrades, one of the qualities of them, there's a lot of different ways you can work with them. One of the ways to revere retrogrades is that they ground things. They bring things to the ground. If you've had work that's been up floating around, when it has to do with a specific planetary alignment, that retrograde can ground it. So for example, there's things I bound up in the previous Mars retrograde in 2020. Oh gosh, what year was that? Was it 2023? 2022? I think it was 2022. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 2022. There's some stuff I bound up in that previous Mars retrograde that has been like, it got up in the air. I've been working on it. It's been shifting around, but it couldn't ground until this Mars retrograde, partially because it was bound in a Mars retrograde, but also retrogrades are times of grounding. It's where work that's done associated with that planet can now become actually here on the earth. It's not just floating around. It's possible. It comes to the earth. It's possible for it to be here. So when Pluto retrogrades, this is going to be the first retrograde only in Aquarius that doesn't go back into Capricorn that we're going to have. So we have some things with societal like happenings, and a lot is happening. Okay. A lot is happening. So right now it's not a time for rest because we've got some things that are coming to the ground come that Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrogrades, how long is it? Till October 14th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 months. We've got 5 months of that Pluto grounding. Pluto also, just so everyone is aware, there is awareness around it. Pluto is our slowest moving planet. So the grounding of those Pluto aspected in Aquarius moments, they're going to be things that are grounding a little bit. It's like consistent because Saturn's still involved, but it's also like it has to go through a process. The processions, got it. Thank you, Spirit. It has to go through a process. And one of the ways that I like to learn with Pluto is that wherever Pluto is in your chart, sit with it. Wherever Aquarius is in your chart, sit with it. 11th house, 8th house, sit with it. Scorpio, Aquarius stuff, sit with it. Okay. Be aware of if you feel like you need to, those placements, spaces for you. and then just kind of gradually start to bring awareness around it. Pluto moves slow, so it'll bring you something one day. Maybe it won't bring you anything the next day, but then there'll be a lesson on it the day after that. Or maybe there'll be a couple the day after that. It is something that, because Saturn's still involved with where Pluto is, it is on a consistent basis, but it doesn't happen all the time. So because Pluto is like way far out there and it goes really slow, there's other planets moving in, doing their thing over and over again. So it kind of comes in those lulled moments of like, okay, there's room now for Pluto to come in. There's room now for Pluto to like offer the wisdoms. So if you are, while you're up and doing things, there may be messages around those different groundings to come through, but you could go look at those placements. If you feel like you need to go look at those placements for yourself, then it might be a good idea on a personal level to go check it out. I feel like let's clear that. Clear it, revere it. I'm gonna go to the other deck actually. Let's go to our order deck. Order. Let's see what else. Pertho. Something we can't see. Magic. It's something we can't see. Magic. Something we can't see. Magic. Hold on. Something we can't see. Magic. I'm interested in what it's going to be too. Hello to you also. Yeah, I'm interested too. Something we need is grounding. We're not alone anymore. Not alone anymore? Okay, Spirit. Not alone anymore. We can't see the magic, but we know we're not alone. We can't see the magic, but we know we're not alone. What I hear about that, because right now I'm thinking about the Coven space on our group chat. I'm thinking about the Coven space. So for people who are over there, this is like, it feels related, but this is also a message for people who are involved with other people who are practicing magic for clarity's purpose and sake. We can't see the full, it like landed on my hand. We can't see the full magic over there yet. We can't see the full magic with the people that we can't see the full magic. Because what I hear and what I see is like, if you could see all of it, you would be overwhelmed enough that you wouldn't want to do anything ever again or anymore. Like, it's like you wouldn't want to open the door anymore. Sometimes we don't need to know. Okay, we're tiny little humans on the earth for a reason. We cannot comprehend everything for a reason. Keep me blind to it if I don't need to see it. Keep me blind to it if I don't need to hear it. I don't want to know. If I don't need it, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Sometimes I need to know. And that's all right. But once we know about it, it becomes a responsibility. What I say earlier, once we know about it, it becomes a responsibility, right? So if you could see the whole picture of it, it's like sometimes magic works in mysterious ways, right? Magic works in mysterious ways. Magic works in ways that we are unable to comprehend. We can learn the tools of it. We can learn the skills of it. We can order it. We can look at it. We can receive it. We can comprehend it, befriend it. But to see the totality of it would make us not a human. Thank you. Would make us not a human. So we're not alone anymore. What else do we need to see about this? Something about not being alone. Roots in the sky. Roots, the rest of the spirit just, okay, let it rest then. Roots in the sky. And a path of joy that we cannot see. A path of joy that we cannot see. That's one of the things Spirit's been putting on me recently is like, remember to be joyful about things. Joy is a form of resistance. When there are spirits and beings around you who would profit from suffering, joy is resistance then. Of course. If there are spirits and beings who would ask you to suffer so they could profit something, or they would ask you to buffer so that they could profit something, or they would ask you to become more fearful so that they can profit something, whatever it is that you don't want to be. If there's a being or a spirit that would ask you to be in that energy and they're going to profit from it, then of course being joyful is going to be a resistance to that edge. to that edge, because that's really what resistance is. If you have something over here pushing this way, you got something over here pushing this way, okay, think about they're resisting each other. They're opposing forces. Opposing, also a neutral tool. Opposition is necessary. We have skin. This is opposing the air that's out here. It's opposing the force of the atmosphere, right? If those two things didn't exist, we couldn't either. So it's a neutral thing. The opposition, the opposing, though, it's like the resistance. There has to be resistance. That's just one of the natural laws that we have. There has to be things that are resistant to each other. And so in that resistance, if you're creating things in joy with where there's other people around you, it could be your friends, it could be your family, it could be the people that are at your job or at your work. If you're creating joy and there's resistance, first of all, you're probably doing something right. Second, keep going. Keep going. That's one of the things spirits had on me recently too, is that where we meet resistance means that we're creating something new. And if you're creating something new, of course there's going to be resistance. So it's like a key indicator. If you're doing something and there's resistance to it right now, and you feel like this is true for me, this is real for me, this is really something that I want to do, this is really something that I want to be, then hi Bubba, then let there be resistance. Sometimes there needs to be that. Sometimes there needs to be that. And that's all right. That's all right. Yeah. Where you gonna go, huh? You gonna come hang out? You wanna come hang out? Say hi to the people? Every once in a while he comes through, says hey. Yeah. Okay. I just don't like to interrupt his movement, you know? I don't like to interrupt his movement, his moving. What else do we need to see about this? The roots in the sky. Also, the roots in the sky, bringing the mothers. Okay, valid. Bringing joy to the spirits up high. What do I mean by roots in the sky? Roots in the sky is like, what gods do you ground on the earth? The roots in the sky. What gods do you ground on the earth? What gods do you ground on the earth? If you can understand the gods that you ground on the earth, you don't need to understand them. It's like sometimes we don't need to. Sometimes things are bigger than us. Sometimes we're not supposed to comprehend it. If you're making offerings to the gods, though, if you have a relationship with the gods or the spirits that would be, bigger, longer, older than you are, of course, you're not alone in that either. Joy is going to help to lift us right now. Bringing joy to the spirits, bringing joy in your offerings, offer in joy. If you can offer in joy, there's going to be a return of that joy to you. Create joy for yourself, create joy for the spirits, because then that means that those gods and those spirits are fed in joy, and they're going to also be able to help resist whatever is coming up against that joy in your space. A good embrace. There's something else coming through about this. Oh my goodness. A new journey will come through. Oh, and the gods are grounding something for you. Oh, spirit. I need to hear it. The gods are grounding something for you. Of course, you can't see the totality of it. The gods are grounding something for you because you've remained joyful in the face of the opposition that doesn't want you to be joyful. Of course, the gods are going to come and ground something for you. Can't you understand? That's what I hear is like, can't you understand how much you've actually done? Remember earlier in the reading where it was like, realize how much you paid to become the person that you are? Look at how much work you've really done. Look at how much work you've really done. Look at how much you've really given to the spirits. Look at how much you've really driven in the spirit. You're going to know if it's for you. Look at how much you've really done. Sure, sometimes you've been off and having fun, but think about all of the resistance. You don't have to think about it. Maybe just reflect on it. Yeah, I know. That's for sure. Think about, reflect on, reminisce if you need to, about how do I say this? The resistance that you've remained joyful up against in the previous years. Yeah. Remember how powerful that joy is. It like bridged the gap. It bridged a gap for you. Sometimes we have to go through, at least for me, because the cards I'm reading with right now are the rune cards. So when it comes to my practice, the Norse spirits, because that's a pillar of my practice. There's a like, you know, a circle around it. I got a circle around that part of my practice. It's just what it is. And there's a lot of like battle war stuff in it, wisdom, tools of that sort of space. So if you think about the resistance, if you have been staying joyful in the face of that resistance over the previous years, and you said, no, you know what? I am going to be in love. I'm going to decide to passionately live my life. I'm going to be loving, even though people around me are not doing that. I'm going to be joyful, even though people around me are not doing that. I'm going to do that. You know what that means? That means you were fighting for love. That means you were fighting for joy. That means you were fighting for that passionate energy. So of course, at least for me, and I'm going to say this with discernment for like where your spirits sit in your life, because the Norse spirits are maybe not on every, like, how do I say that? They may not be as direct to you as the spirits that are direct to you. So discernment, it is what it is. Everybody sits with different spirits as it needs to be. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the spirits that you sit with in love and free. That's true. Thank you. Okay. So for clarity, not disparity, just for clarity. Think about all the resistance you put. That means you said, yeah, I'm gonna fight for love. So wouldn't it make sense for love to fight for you? If you've been fighting for love and you've been fighting for joy, of course, joy and love are going to fight for you. Maybe they couldn't reach you where you were back then, but you've been feeding them with your fight. You say, yeah, I'm going to stay joyful, even though people around me are not going to do that. Joy said, okay, I see you. Joy, the big spirit, joy, the large spirit. Because this is how I look at the God structures for people who are new to my work or unfamiliar with the way that I look at this, because both could be true for this. The way that I look at the God structures is like there's us on an individual level, right? Then we got our ancestors. That's a little bit bigger of a space, a little bit bigger of a embrace. Okay. Then there's the gods that would be in like a spiritual structure or a house or a tree or a pantheon. It's a space, right? Which those gods are going to greet you on an ancestral level. So however those like, relationships work is different for everybody. So that's the general kind of vague clarity on it, because it's just going to depend on the situation, the person, the place, the space, the time, and the inheritance. And that's what it is. And then we have the large spirits on the outside of that. That's what I call them, the large spirits. So and the example I normally sit with for this is like in every single one of those God structures, there's usually a God of love or a goddess of love or a mother God of love, right? There's like a spirit in that structure that is a practitioner. Even though they're the God, they still practice love in their stories, in their mythology, in their being. They are of love. Who do you think they went to learn about love? Of course they went to love. Of course that God went to love to learn about love. So then we have the large spirits. That's why I call them the large spirits, is because they're like the encompassing spirits, are encompassing, primordial also could be a name for them too. Sometimes depends on who you are and if you resonate with that kind of practice. It is what it is. So but those guys went to love to learn. So it would make sense then also for, how do I say, if you've been fighting for the big spirit love, if you've been fighting for the the big spirit love, okay, yeah, love saw you fighting for love. Even when people around you couldn't see love, even when people around you were pushing up against that fight, if you kept fighting for love, love said, oh, and there's resistance, which means the fight's even harder. Sometimes, you know what, when the fight is harder, you earn more. You ever thought about that? Sometimes when you have to fight harder, work harder, you earn more. Sometimes we're placed in positions, and thank you, Spirit, for this wisdom. Sometimes we're placed in positions where we really, 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 really have to get a little bit down and dirty. Not a little bit. Sometimes we got to get a lot of it. Okay. Sometimes it has to be a lot. Sometimes that's just what it is. So think about how dirty it got. Okay. And think about how well you've been doing to make sure that you're fighting for what you really believe in. Because the spirits that are resonation, even if it's not love, is like my main space. So even if it's not, is one of them. Okay, that's true. Even if it's not that, then truth. The other ones I sit with: truth, free. What is it? Love, truth, free, gratitude, reverence, elevation, justice, honor. Sometimes glory, but that's going to depend on the story. So discernment. I'm still learning to discern in that space also. But those are the ones I normally sit with. Those are the ones that I normally am gonna like revere. There's other ones that I sit with too. Those are just the main ones. I also love to sit with life and death, the will, the highest spirit, and then the elements. The elements, fire, we got the earth, air, water. The other ones, one of the things that I've been working in recently is understanding the different forms of those elements and bringing those through in the work that I do. So we've got the water, the sea, the rain, the rivers, the air, the wind, the breeze, the breath. And then we have the fire, the flame, the spark. Beautiful. We've got earth, the land, the growth. Okay, growth, the trees, the plant. Yeah, the directness of that. So working with the different forms of the elements, because one of the things that Spirit's been having me sit in recently is direction. Direction as protection. Direction, if you know you need to get somewhere and you have a destination, how you get there is just as important as what the destination is. Direction. Direction. Do you not have a destination? You've got to figure out a way to get away from where you are. Direction. 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 Direction has been a really, really big word, being, spirit. Thank you, direction. That's true. Thank you, mother direction. I love you. Direction. Let's return to the cards then. So if you've really been, after some of the wisdom breakdowns, we got it. Thank you, wisdom. Thank you, mother wisdom. Love you both. If you've been working in something that you had resistance up against for years now, this is something that I feel years. This is like years in the making, something that's a curse that you're breaking. Thank you. A curse that you're breaking, having to be in what you're fighting for is now worth more because you went through this period or this chapter. It's now worth more. It's now worth more. It's worth more because you fought for it. It's worth more because other people said it's not worth anything. Oh, okay. 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 It's worth more because other people said it's not worth anything. That includes you. Think about people who would think that you were worthless. Incorrect, first of all. Secondly, that makes me worth more. That makes me worth more. Like people that have done you wrong, people that have just strung you along, okay? People who have looked at you and said, no, I have more power than you. I can do whatever I want to you. I can, whatever the narrative was, or maybe is, depending on the situation that you're in, okay? And if you're in that situation, may you be lifted up and out of it in love and elevation, free. True. I'm grateful for you. That's true. That fight, that fight that you've been in or may still currently be in, to be able to protect what's important to you, to be able to direct other people away from you that would find you to be not worth anything. Because it's like, okay, if there's somebody who's doing wrong to you or doing whatever they want around you and you don't agree with it or you don't want that to happen anymore and you've been fighting for yourself, let's center this around self for a second. You've been fighting for yourself in those situations. Please allow me to see this and speak this in love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, love, and justice. If you've been, thank you, justice, love you, justice. If you've been doing that work, then every single time that somebody has come against you, it's helped you realize you're worth more. Every single time, I'm going to speak on this on a personal level. Every single time I've had somebody come up against me, it's made me realize, oh, they value this thing about me. They value this way that I love them. And if I take myself out of that situation, then the value that they said was worth nothing now actually is worth nothing because I'm not there. But they're going to have to realize that it was worth way more than they were putting their coin or their investment or their time or their energy or their love into. One of the things that this is one of the ways that I kind of work up against, I'll call them enemies, oppositions. Enemy is different. We'll use the word opposition for clarity's sake, for clarity's purpose. Opposition. When I come up against, because specificities are specific and important for a reason. When I come up against those oppositions and I'm realizing, and this is good information for the Venus retrograde that's coming up, okay, just for reference. Kente Bente. Kente Bente, what are you doing? I don't know what he's doing. I think he got into a cabinet. I don't know if you could hear that a second ago. Let him be. Let him be. Okay. Let him be. Go back. Let me retract. This is good information for the Venus retrograde. Thanks for that. You know, being a cat mom, it is what it is. Being a cat mom. So this is good information for the Venus retrograde, because Venus retrogrades, they ask us to see that we're worth more. And sometimes that happens because energies, specific situations, oppositions of what we're worth will come up against us, could come up against us, and have sometimes come up against us. Sometimes that happens just so that you can see that you're worth more than whatever the situation that you were in is. Sometimes we have to go up against the hard stuff to realize, oh, I'm actually here, but I've been treating myself like I'm here, so they've been treating me like I'm here. Let me switch it up then, because I actually am worth more than this. I'm worth more than their treatment. I'm worth more than. And there's also too, if you're thinking about this and you're like, wow, I've already been through those sorts of situations. I've already kind of been through that. I've already been there. Then this upcoming Venus retrograde, one of the things that Spirit has told me, so discern for yourself about how this could work through, because it's going to be different depending on who you are. The retrogrades are crossover times, all right? They're crossover. So that's one of the reasons things can come to the ground. We're in a crossover moment. So if you've already been in that energy, or you've been in those experiences and you're working through them, you've actively been working through them to give yourself more worth in your life based on the experiences that you had in other time frames and in other time periods. Right now, thank you, Spirit. Right. Yes. Thank you, Spirit. Right now, let me get back on track. We're going to be grounding in a way that we're not going to have to return to that. So that's for people who've already been through it. This Venus retrograde is going to help to ground a new beginning so that we do not have to return to the spaces and the places and the people and the situations that have done us dirty and have done us wrong. Hello and goodbye. Okay. I'm closing my eye. I'm not looking at it anymore. That's this Venus retrograde that's coming up. Done. Then there's a new ride that starts. So coming back to the cards that have been down here as I've been yapping and chatting about other things that are important to this portion of the reading. The gods are grounding something for you. Let's go back to the love example. If you've been fighting for love and there's been opposition coming up against you and you're like, I'm going to love anyways. I'm going to love myself anyways. I'm going to love this person anyways. I'm going to love regardless of the situation. I'm going to love regardless of the opposition. I'm going to love regardless of the forces that are coming up against me. Okay, well, love is a big spirit. Love is an old spirit. Love is a gigantic spirit. Love, in my opinion, is a god. Love you, love. You want to come up, my guy? You want to come up? You can. You want to come visit? Come on then. Yeah. Yeah. So love sees you. Those were offerings to love. If you're fighting for love, you're creating love. Of course, that's how offerings work. And it's a Venus. No wonder I've been yapping about Venus retrograde. If I love Venus so much. I love you. I love you. I love you. It's so true. I do. When offerings, the fundamental of an offering, to give something and then have it go out to the spirit you gave it to, and then have it return from that spirit to you. That's the fundamental of Venus. We think about it a lot of the times with astrology on a relationship-based platform or space where it's like, I'm giving this to my person and my person's giving me this in return. Because it is kind of like a singular thing. It could be you and then you're giving this to an organization. That would be more Venus in Capricorn, Venus in Aquarius, but still applicable. Venus in the 10th house also. I'm giving this to an organization. I'm giving this to a person. I'm giving this out, and there's going to be a return from that return. Yeah, in some, even if it's nothing, that's still a return. So we're about to learn really wow, because I'm going back to the Venus retrograde that happened in 2023. It was like September time of 2023 was our most previous retrograde. And I'm thinking about what happened. That Venus retrograde was probably one of the hardest. I don't want to be so exaggerating about it, but it was very difficult. There was a very, very hard situation that I went through in that Venus. There's several, actually. Whoa, that's crazy. There's several different hard situations I went through. Oh my God. Thanks for that clarity, Spirit. Yeah, and I'm thinking about everything that I've done for myself since then. Love myself regardless. Because the other thing about retrogrades, let's talk about the fundamental of a retrograde a little bit more. They're also binding. And so what happens in a retrograde binds us up of like that's what we are kind of forced to work on until it retrogrades again. Mercury happens every couple months, so they shift pretty easily. Sometimes things can come back up. That's kind of why people's exes come around when Mercury retrogrades, is because like we talk to people. So if there's communication bindings that need to come back up and surface to be reordered or reconsidered, and we're going to bind it up again for something else moving forward. But retrogrades on a general, that's more Mercury. Then there's some retrogrades that last for quite a long time. Pluto is one. Jupiter kind of retrogrades for a while. Neptune and Saturn, they retrograde for a while too. Chiron also, but that's one, it's considered more to be a lesser placement or not as like strengthened. It just depends on kind of like how the chart is set up and how you're reading things. But yeah, I love you too. It's true. You want to? Yeah. Should we? You think it's a good idea? We'll let it rest for now. How about that? We'll let it rest for now. And then maybe later. Or do I need to do it right now? Is it something I need to do right now? I call him spiritually on duty. So occasionally he brings me messages I got to listen to. Yeah, and thank you for them. Shall we? Let's do it. Let's do it. You want to? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, little guy. All right. Interesting. Give me just a moment, please, and thank you. Allow me just a moment. That's true. Beautiful. Okay. So good. Thanks for that patience and revering my ability to make offerings as necessary and needed. That's true. So, and thank you, Spirit, for that. Spirit's been asking me to practice more publicly, and I feel like that was like, granted, we're in a space of practice and like readings and things like that, but still true. Okay. Anyways, so let's go back to the Venus retrograde. So what happens in that Venus retrograde binds up the order of what will happen for the next, I think it's like year and a half around that until Venus will retrograde again. So when things are grounding, it's like a harvest and an activation at the same time. If we're harvesting things from the previous year and a half of what's been happening with those offerings that we've been giving out, which also, again, if you've been in the love and there's been opposition to that, but you've been going forward anyways, what have you been giving out? What have you been receiving? How have you been weaving when it comes to the offering and the receiving and the worth? Something else that's on my mind about that is that we are vulnerable when we give, and we are vulnerable when we receive. They are both positions of being vulnerable. That would be considered feminine and masculine in some language, and in some ways that we would talk about this sort of form: the divine feminine, the divine masculine, the mother and the masculine, the mother and the father, the giver and the receiver, the giving and the receiving. Both positions are vulnerable in the process of the Venus foundations. And so that's something else to be revered when we are working with Venus, at least in my opinion and in my practice, when we're revering that giving and receiving process. Yeah, baby. Are you hungry? Do you need more food? Is that what's going on? You're calling me for something else this time. Yeah, I know that's true. You want some dinner? Let me get him some dinner. I feel like this message, I've been trying to chat about it, and then it's like, do something else. Trying to chat about it, not do something else. It's like, how do I say? There's other things I need to get done. So allow me just a moment. I got to get the cat some dinner because it's dinner time. Well, how do I say? He doesn't really have a schedule. He just eats when he wants to, but he's hungry. So you know what? If you're hungry and the spirits need to get fed, that's what I was just doing, huh? So apparently here we are in the middle. Let's feed them. Let's feed you. I'll be right back. Technically, I guess I could keep talking about it while I'm walking around. That's true. So when we're binding up that Venus retrograde, look at that. When we're binding up that Venus retrograde, what's coming through? Hi, my boy. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, my love. Yeah. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Thank you. Well, what's coming through for that? We're going to have a new chapter start. And think about if you've been doing a bunch of good stuff, I'm going to say quote unquote good stuff. If you've been doing a bunch of good stuff for yourself and for, the spirits that you've been fighting for, that there's been an opposition up against for the previous year and a half, couple of years, and you've been doing work and again, you're fighting for love and love sees you fighting for love. Okay, well, then that's going to ground when Venus retrograde happens. And it's eclipse season. And it's just that was a laughter of knowing. And it's eclipse season, so what grounds is not only going to ground, and like the lunar nodes are about a year and a half too. And they just switched over, so how do I say, Venus is going to be working with the eclipses for the next year and a half. Okay, interesting. So what comes through with this harvest, one of the things, actually, okay, this is coming back into my mind. One of the things that Spirit's been putting on my head recently, it's like a vision Spirit's been putting on my head recently about people who have been doing the work are about to receive the tools that they need. And those tools are not only meant to feed you. They're not only meant to feed you, they're meant to be able to protect the people around you. It's like a person who all of a sudden just has everything. You've got everything you need. You've got everything you asked for. You have everything that you want. Okay, beautiful. What are you going to do with it? Because there's a bunch of people out here who don't have everything that they need, who are struggling. There's a bunch of people out here who need your help. And you have everything that you want. You have everything you asked for. You have everything that you need. Of course, if you have more, if you are sitting in abundance. I was literally just at the metaphysical store today and she was talking about 222 because I asked the cash register number was 22222. There's a bunch of twos. And I was like, is that your number as the employee or is that? And she was like, no, it's the cash register number. And then I guess I didn't even realize the like union, because 2 for me is union. And she was talking about it's abundance. It's abundant. She was like, yeah, go get that money. Or like, good luck getting that money. I hope you get the money. I think she said hope you get the money. So if you're about to receive everything that you need, of course you have the ability to then, if it's like an overflowing cup, okay, well, where are you going to pour it out? Where is it going to pour into? Where's the extra excess going to go? If you have the tools that you need, it's like somebody who, is a mechanic and you don't know anything about cars. If they have everything that they need, then they're going to make sure that you've got your car taken care of too. So it's things like that. It's like, if you've got the skills that other people need, if you have the tools that other people need, if you have extra abundance around you, if you have the extra time around you, whatever it is that could be coming up, where it's like, suddenly I have an abundance of this thing. What do I do with it? Suddenly I have an abundance of this thing. I'm not sure where to put it yet. We may not know what it's going to be or what we need to do with it until the Venus retrograde gets here. And part of this reading is that's what's grounding. Whatever it is that you ask for, the gods are bringing it through. The spirits that are over you, the spirits you've been fighting for, like love, maybe not fighting for, that's for practitioners who are more of like the war battle orientation, again, for specifics and clarity. But what you've been feeding, generally speaking, what you've been feeding, what you've been offering, how you've been doing that, what you've been really like pressing over and over and over and over and over again out into the spirit, out into those offerings, because Venus is going to retrograde in Pisces, and Pisces is about sacrifice. It's about offerings. What have you been sacrificing to the spirits? What have you been giving to them? Because it's about to the vision I just got for that, so crazy. The vision I just got for that is like a whole entire, like, it's going to be so much more than you think. Those at water parks, those like big, the dump, they just dump a bunch of water all at the same time. That's what I'm seeing, is like, you've been filling up all the offerings you've been making for the previous couple, whether it's time, resources, candles, incense, meals, however it is that you offer to the spirits. There's a lot of different ways to do that. However it is that you've been filling up this big, gigantic cup. And as you've been filling up this big, gigantic cup, the spirits are sitting there saying, okay, yeah, we can't give it to you yet, but we're going to give it to you. We can't give it to you yet, but we're going to give it to you. So keep filling it up, because the more that you fill it up, the more it's going to come down. So fill it up, 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 fill it up. And they've just been sitting there watching you work and do they've just been seeing you sitting and watching. Okay, sitting and watching, doing what they need to do, sitting and watching, doing what they need to do. But they've been watching over you, and they've been watching this cup fill up, and they haven't been able to ground anything yet. But that Venus retrograde, because it's going back into Pisces, is going to bring some things to the earth side. And hold on. We've got, oh my gosh, that's going to be crazy. Dude, the end of March, the end of March, what do I have words for that? Do I even have words for that? The end of March is going to be crazy. The end of March is going to be don't be lazy. The next month and a half, don't be lazy. Just keep working on what you need to work on. I need to hear that too. And also keep doing what you need to do, because the end of March, the reason I say it's going to be crazy is because I was asking, when is Venus going to go back, Venus retrograde, when's it going to go back into Pisces? Because that's going to bring through those offerings. It'll probably start before then, but that's going to be the activation of like what we put into that big old pot is going to start to come out, the big cup. So that happens the 27th of March, which is also the day it's conjunct with Neptune. Venus retrograde will move into Pisces, and then it will be conjunct with Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces. So it's like that's where there's a lot of pour out energy. It'll be different timing depending on who you are. So I won't speak too specifically about that, but it's coming out. That's so good. Oh, wow. It's also the day that the dark moon enters Scorpio. That's the day that the dark moon enters Scorpio. Okay. One of the things Spirit told me earlier, I made a video about this on TikTok. I need to get it up on YouTube too. But one of the things that Spirit told me about the dark moon earlier is that we are going to be going through birthing a new will while the dark moon is in Scorpio. Birthing a new, be like really, if you're not trying to get pregnant while the dark moon is in Scorpio, which is basically all of this year, just be extra precautionary. You have been precautioned. Okay. So because Scorpio is about the will, part of it, not all of it, but part of it is about the will. So like birthing a new will, for some people that might mean birthing a new human. If you want to be that kind of mom and that's something that you want, then it's a really great time to do that. If not though, just make sure that you got going on what you need to have going on. Okay. It is. So it is. It is. Very fertile energy. It is. So let me prove to TikTok that I'm a person. Allow me a moment. Okay. Yes. Beautiful. And birthing a new will is also like, what do you want to be on the other side of that? You might not know. It's Scorpio. It could be a secret. It might be something that's hidden. It might be a secret that's going to be revealed. And we're going into the darkness to like birth something in that Scorpio energy for basically all of this year. And it's the year of the snake. Interesting. That's one of the animals for Scorpio. Okay, interesting. So anyways, that happens on the 27th also. We have Venus retrograde back into Pisces. It's conjunct with Neptune and the dark moon, which was in Libra, which was ruled by Venus. So that's going to be a really interesting switch up for people who are really in tune with subliminal energies, or like the really like indirect energies, really shadowed maybe is how you could see them. I see those energies more directly sometimes. So I don't know if I would consider that shadow, even though it kind of is the shadow. In my opinion, there's a lot of different ways to talk about the shadow. And so just for specifics, I suppose. But if you're someone who is more in tune with the like subdued, non-direct energies all the time, if you're into that, or you feel like you're tapped into it, really feel through the prior couple days to that. When would that start? Probably like mid-March, around that time. I don't know, because it's indirect energy, so it's not going to be like a date of like pay attention on this date, but just like lift the weight of start to pay attention, because once we get to the end of March, oh my goodness. Because Venus, the reason I say, oh my goodness, is because the dark moon, having been in Libra, was ruled by Venus. So not only on the same day do we have Venus retrograde going into a new sign, we have the dark moon that was just ruled by Venus going into a new sign as well. So we have not only a directness with the Venus, but we have the indirect, both in the feminine. A direct and an indirect feminine changing positions. Okay, the mother's about to get up. That's what I just heard. Interesting. It reminds me, how do I share that with care? You ever been a kid? Yeah, of course you've been a kid. You ever been a kid in a room where you had to wake a parent up because there's something going on? You need them to get up, but they're like tired and asleep. So you try and wake them up once and they're not getting up. You're trying to wake them up again, and they're not getting up. They're like, yeah, I'll be up in 5 minutes. Yeah, I'll be up. Like, just let me rest. They're tired. They've been working. The mom, the parent, the mom in this case, because it's the feminine energy. They're tired and they've been working. They don't want to get up. They need their rest. They're trying not to be pressed, right? They're trying not to be stressed. I need to sleep. Let me take my time. Mother's about to get up at the end of March, and it is not necessarily gonna be, it's gonna be a wake up of like, it's time for me to wake up and be a mom in that energy or position or situation or space. Also, the mother spirits, because it's the mothers on the, oh, it was the mothers. It is. Okay. And mother's coming through. That's true. Mother's coming through. They're waking us up this month too. It's like this month and next month, it's like they're waking us up. But then it's like, it's time to just be up. Like, they're waking us up, they're getting us up. Spirits raising people's heads up right now too, for some, not for everybody, is what I hear about that. So if you've been resonating with that, the spirit's getting your head up. Spirit's getting your head up, as in like elevating your head, elevating your mind, new gifts, new understandings, new awareness, new practice, new skills, new getting your head up in the spirit. If you resonate with that, that's something that's going on. I've seen in different spaces of collective, not everybody for that directive, but it's something within maybe some more like compact spaces. It is as it is. Okay. So then it's like the end of March is okay. It's time to get up now. It's time to be up. We've been getting up. Now it's just time to be up. Because then we have the eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse on the 29th. That's in Aries. That's where Venus just was. Interesting. Also, that eclipse is ruled by Mars, and dark moon moving into a sign, Scorpio, that's partially ruled by Mars. Okay. And within 24 hours of that eclipse happening, about 24 hours, I haven't looked at the exact specifics in a while, the Neptune's going to enter Aries where the eclipse just was, and Mercury retrograde is going to be conjunct with Neptune on the way into Pisces. There's so much going on at the end of March. And so it's time to march at the end of March. Okay, spirit with the words. Okay, spirit with the words. Gifts are coming through March time. Let the eclipses ground some things for you. Because also that full moon eclipse is going to be in Virgo. That's the south node. It's meant to ground things. It's meant to bring things to the earth side. It's meant to bring things to the earth side from the spirit place. The Venus retrograde going back into Pisces is meant to ground things from the spirit into the earth. We've got things coming through. If nothing comes through, look at what the work you did was. Maybe it's just not time yet. Maybe it's just not time yet. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is, though. So if you feel like it might be time, here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Interesting. And you know what else is interesting? Life for me recently, like I said earlier, I feel like recently I don't really recognize myself. Like I'm like, there's so much new energy, and like there's so much, it's just different. It's just different. And that's all right. That's fine. It's what it needs to be. It's just different. You know? Yeah, it's pretty good, huh? It's pretty good. Wow. Yeah. March is going to be different. March is going to bring a lot of clarity for us too. There's another message I got several months ago about March is going to be like, I don't know, March is the time to march. That's what Spirit needs me to say about it. That's how I'll put it. Okay. March is the time to march. March is the time to march. A protective directive. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to bring through? Let me just sit for a minute. Sit for a moment. Let me just sit. We'll rest. We'll talk. That was a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot. That was... And maybe let me leave that. That's fine. Okay. Thank you. Oh my goodness. What a day to be alive. You know, the other thing I will say, I put my book on pre-order today. So if you want to go support me while I work through that and work on it, it's a spiritual war book. So we could talk about it. I gotta let it cook though. I've already started writing it, but I gotta let it cook. I gotta let the cookbook cook. It is. It is. So, yeah, so if you wanna go support me while I write it, there's gonna be physical copies that are, bound when it does publish, but I don't have a publication date yet, because 'cause I've found that with my work, if I put a date on it, I will not always miss it, but I need it to be a little bit more indirect. So it just is what it is. Yeah, but that's the ebook that's up. Mhm. Yeah. Let her cook, you know? Let her cook. I will be cooking, that is for sure. Pots, pans, we got some cutting boards and some knives, you got the spices and the herbs, and, I will be cooking, that is true. But, yes, it is true, it is true, it is true, I will be cooking, I will be cooking. And you know what? I'm a pretty good chef. I'm not little pat on the back. I'm a pretty good cook, so it's gonna be a good book. It's up for pre-order. The ebook is up for pre-order. The physical copies can be ordered later at a later date, but the how do I say? Digital copy can be ordered now. So yeah, hi Bubba. Thanks for coming in to say hi. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Pretty good at the serving. Thanks. Pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. And so far it's been, how do I say? It's been interesting to sit and start writing about that because it's something that spirit. Yeah? Okay. What was I don't know what that was. He knocked something over. He's about to knock something else over. Yeah? Okay. Thanks, Boba. He is like mischievous in the most serious way. He is mischievous in the most serious way. He's only ever mischievous if it's like spirit has something to say. You know? Okay. I love him. But Spirit has had this book on me. Let me go back to that. Spirit's had this book on me for a while. Spirits had this book on me for a while, like many years, a while. The spirits had this book on me for a while. Spirit a couple years ago was like, "You gotta write this," and I said, "Spirit, I don't know all of that. I don't know all of that. I know I gotta write it, but like, look at what I gotta do right now. I got all this. Oh, I have a feeling I'm about to realize something talking about this. Let me just talk about it then. I have all this other stuff to do. I got all this other stuff going on. I don't have time to write this right now. Let me, focus on what I gotta focus on. Okay." Spirit said, "Okay, we'll give you time then. We'll give you indirectly." Spirit didn't, sometimes Spirit says to me, but sometimes Spirit is like, "Okay, well, it is. It is that. We hear you. Just do what you need to do." That's how it's felt. And so now that I have the time, though, I have the time, I have the space, I have the place, I have everything I need to get the book out. I have everything I need to get the book written. I have the wisdom and the experience. I have the tools. I have the know-how. So it's going to get written. It's going to get written. And it's finally time, and it feels really strange for it to be finally time. It feels really weird for it to be finally time. So I started writing it, and as I started writing it, I just every time that I've sat down to write, because I expected the book to be like maybe this big. I've expected this is not the book that I'm writing, but I've expected the book to be, around this size, and I was like, it'll just be like a manual for people, or like how do I say, like a general know-how of how to navigate spiritual war, and what does that look like, and what does it feel like, and what do it'll be a general. And every time I sit down to write it, spirit is like, "Oh yeah, and don't forget about these 3 other chapters, and don't forget look at all the information you have about this thing, and look at all the information." So I put up on the pre-order because it's to be determined, the date's to be determined, but I've been pretty like persistent, consistent with it. So I'm giving myself till November. Between 2 to 8 months is what I put on there. Between 2 to 8 months. So like November. I'm giving myself like basically to November to be able to get everything done. I feel like that's a pretty good time frame. I don't have a specific date yet, but I feel like once I get closer to the end, I'll have a more specific time frame. Because I also have this part of my life is pretty different, honestly. There's when I was first on the internet and I was first like, how do I say, like coming into having people follow me on the internet. Maybe that's a good frame of words. When I was first doing that, that was all I was doing. It was during COVID. It was during lockdown. That was it. The internet was all we had. That, books, some art. We were at home, But now it's not like that anymore. And I am in a different chapter of my life. I'm in a different season of my life. And I've been finding it so different. I've been finding it so different because it's like now I have relationships that I'm keeping up with, and I have people around me, and I have, my body to take care of. I have a training schedule that Spirit has me on. And like there's all these different things that I've got to do where it's like I'm not just focused on my art and I'm not just focused on my career anymore. And it's a very, very different mindset that I've had to take on recently. It's a very different mindset. And I've been kind of frustrated, honestly, because I'm like not in that position, but it's a different season. It's just a different season that I'm in where now I have to learn how to how are you going to be a person now to myself? How are you going to be a person? You have the career, you have the friends, you have all these like areas that you've asked to be in. How are you going to balance that? How are you going to be a person? How are you going to create through what we've given to you? So it's different. So I could have probably years ago written the book, just like closed myself in a room and written the book in 2 months. I know that I could have done that, but I have a whole bunch of life to live now. So I'm giving myself to November. I feel like that is pretty good. I feel like that's pretty good. Yeah. Oh, so good. Is it different than the one that was released on my birthday? Yes. The ones that I put out on Halloween, because there's 2 of them that I've done now. There'll be a 3rd one this year too. The ones I put out on Halloween is the Book of Spells series. Those are poetry. They do have tools of like warfare, battle, victory, success, correction, defense, protection stuff in there. And also, this book is going to be way more focused on like the actual skills and practices and the like specifics of what the work is involved if you're looking at battle, victory, successes, protection, defenses from a spiritual perspective, and how to incorporate that, not just a perspective from a practice, how to practice in that, how to be a practitioner in it. Not just like sit with the theory of it, not just sit and understand it, but allowing yourself to like grip the hand of it. How are you going to hold it? How are you going to practice in it? How are you going to mold your life with the tool? So it's a lot of like spiritual, how do I say this? There's a lot of different stuff in there. I was trying to put one word on it, but I can't put a word on it. Let me pull up, here's some of the chapters I'm working on. I'll pull up my chapter list. So far, these are the chapters and there'll be more than this. Spirit's like, this is like a basic structure, but you're going to have more than this. So the first chapter, we've got the Fool, the Rule, and the Tool. Okay. Spiritual laws, exchanges and their cost, conquering, discernment, divination, and not everything can be predicted, the spirit of the head, strength in war, how not to be lost, blindness, tests and trials, fear, victory, elevation, separation, ancestral wars, religious wars. Oh, golly, you're asking me to say that on the screen right now? Okay, the spiritual war in America, that's one of the chapters. Honoring the indigenous spirits, the compass, spiritual initiation of, through, with, by war, because that's different, is different. The mothers in war, order, structure, and time, offerings, adult spicy activities and war, boundaries, strategy, and tactic, being stuck in a cycle, and when it's not time yet. The fates of war, different. Okay, interesting. Freedom and liberation, and then tricksters. So that's what I'm working with currently, as like right now, that's what I have as like a base structure. So there's some of that that's already written. And again, Spirit's been telling me there's going to be more than that. So it just kind of depends on how things are shifting with the writing. Because really a lot of what, again, if you look at the tool as a neutral thing, it can be applied as a protective, it can be applied as a defensive. There's a lot of different ways. If you're looking at a tool as something that is, look at that, it's a heart too. It is. Okay. Anyways, if you're looking at it as a tool, a neutral tool, there's a lot of different ways that it can be in application of direction, protection, defense, attack, bring it back, so yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Yeah, different perspective. Thank you for saying that. Anonymous justice fighter. That's pretty good. Thank you. Thanks for saying that, because Spirit's been sitting with me recently about having different perspectives. It's like take a different, not take, sit in a different perspective, write a different perspective, not necessarily always in the writing of the books, but thank you for that confirmation, because spirit has been offering that to me recently. I was literally thinking about it earlier today, about all these different perspectives that I've been sitting in that I haven't really shared with a lot of people. And a lot of the times when I'm speaking on things that I feel personally are, I'm going to put quotes around this, more important or need to be more specific, it's easier for me to write about that, because then I'm able to reread it and hold myself accountable and correct things if I need to, and like direct the energy a little bit more if I would need to do that. Sometimes when I'm just speaking as a spoken, I've become more articulated through the years, but I've learned that sometimes when I'm speaking, when I'm spoken, it's like, it just is. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. You know, you just got the word perspective tattooed on your left hand. Wow, that's crazy. Thanks for sharing that. That's crazy. Whoa, dude. Whoa, that's crazy. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. You know, the seating of different perspectives, needed, necessary. It is. It is, it is. It is, it is, it is. Uh-huh. 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 Mm-hmm. 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 Also, enjoy the move. Enjoy the move. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. If you need an editor, I'm happy to help. Thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely go through editing. For me is like when I go through and edit things, it's a process for me. When I'm rereading things, I learn and then I add. It's like I learn and then addition, learn and then addition. So addition. Interesting. No wonder. Oh, thanks, Spirit. I said something about addition as in like the plus sign, adding things in one of my videos earlier, but it came up twice in the captions on TikTok as addition, like the addition of a book. What number is it? Okay, Spirit. Thank you. Wow. Weird. Cool. I love magic. I love spirit. I love magic. That's so good. I love it. I love it. I love magic. I love that. That's beautiful, honestly. Wow. Huh. I think tonight I need to get some food in me. I need to eat. I need to enjoy it. You know. What else? I need to write. I need to sit and write. I got to get the podcast done tonight, tomorrow, sometime, because well, it's through the 17th. I guess no, the podcast. The podcast can be done tomorrow. I'm gonna organize before we get off this phone call here together. I know we're not on a phone call, but you know the live stream feels like a phone call. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna. I'm gonna get that together tomorrow for everybody. What else do I need to do? The reading is done. Probably get some more videos up. I need to get them posted on YouTube. That's true. So, you know, I've got some work and I need to eat. I'm probably gonna make myself another hot cocoa. Yeah. Okay. I think that's what I'm gonna do. For sure. You know, that's true. Thanks for sitting with me. Thanks for hearing me and revering me. And gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Gratitude, reverence, and love to the indigenous spirits of this land where I sit, talk, walk, and stand, and where you are receiving these messages now. Gratitude, reverence, and love to the spirits that do know how to love true. I love you. Thanks for coming through. Yeah. Gratitude, reverence, and love to the spirits that are free and in truth. And gratitude, reverence, and love to the tree. I love you, tree. I love you, tree. I love you, tree. And I love you, the fates. Oh, wow. Here we go. I love you, the fates. Mm-hmm. Change and presence and fate. I love you. And if something is true, I love you. So good. I'll revere that. All right. Everybody have a great night. Everybody have a great night. Oh, I'll talk to you soon. I don't know when I'll be back on again, but I'll be back on eventually. So